G'day guys, let me just quickly pause that. Let us know if you can hear us. I just want to say g'day.
Yeah, gotta check these things, you know.
Yeah, gotta make sure we're all good. Everyone can hear us. Voices are good. If you can hear us, just put a quick message in. Or a thumbs up or smoke signal.
Otherwise, we'll just assume it's good.
We're just going to assume it's good and we're going to go get started. It's Glenn. It's Glenn. Hey, mate.
Moving on. Welcome back to another PowerShell 101.
I just had the funniest thought. I'm like, Glenn, this time, please don't get auto-modded, mate. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. He got auto-modded so many times. It was pretty funny. Alrighty. My house just got obscured by a shadow. Where's my light? It's my one light.
You mean the one that didn't really do anything?
Oh, it actually does stuff. It does stuff. Don't mess with the terrible light. I actually was using it the other night because I needed a torch. So,
we thank you for your promise, Glenn.
yeah. I'm doing my best to hate them. So anyway, so today we're going to be fixing test object property. So maybe I should make Glenn a mod when I become a Twitch affiliate, and like Glenn's like the first thing he does is like he removes he whitelists himself so he can swear his card out.
Worth it.
Today we're going to be basically updating. We're going to be updating test object properties. So I kind of did a bit of a work around Friday night. Glenn kind of hummed and hard about it. And this was just to do with the dictionary object type. So I'm actually going to use this as an opportunity for myself and Christian, mainly Christian, to actually learn how to write a PowerShell function. Why do we write functions in PowerShell? And also, hopefully, today I can also start to squeeze in a little bit of pest testing. Kind of had a bit of a read around. I'm thinking, especially for the functions, the pest testing functions in this instance will be really easy. We can write a whole bunch of really easy tests. Then we can obviously also pest test the commandlets themselves, which is fairly easy. We've got most of the codes functionalized, so we can test. For example, test object property and do unit tests on that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Pest is definitely not my strong suit, so I'm going to kind of be going a bit slower here today. But I've got Glenn here. He'll be pointing me in the right direction. He'll be like, Michael, and then nothing because he's too busy swearing his head off and it's been auto-modded. So, yeah. So if you guys are not aware that I've also created a Twitter account. So if you follow me on Twitter, I'm trying to get that going. Yeah. I'm actually working. Mate, you should come work for me. Like, I actually have a really good suite setup. So I work for InSync Technology. We're like an MSP, but we're a Microsoft MSP. One of the things we do, like, we pride ourselves on is the modern workplace. So I work from home. I've got a VM set up, and literally, like, I don't need a VPN or anything. It's 365. Obviously, I've got, VS, or Visual Studio, or Azure DevOps, sorry. I've got pretty much all my tools on that, and I don't need to have VPNs or anything. And when connecting to client sites, I do need to connect to a VPN, but that's got its own dedicated VM and things like that. But at the end of the day, though, I've got, like, full telephony, Skype for Business, but we're moving to Teams direct dial, so yeah. Oh, you work for Puppet. Well, there you go. That's why he's the testing guy.
Oh.
No, he's Puppet. He's big. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the big DSC talk the other week, a couple of weeks ago by Wayne on DSC, which was really good.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned some things.
I think it was pretty hilarious though when Gail jumped in channel though, because Wayne, I was talking to Wayne, and Wayne's like Wayne's a really big DSC guy. He loves DSC to bits. And one of the things he was saying to me is like when the moderator It was worth it. That was one of the best trolls ever. Wayne was like shitting himself. I kid you not. Like he was shitting himself because he was like, "Oh god, the DSC's God's here." And I'm like, "This is fantastic." I'm like, "This is great." So. Yeah, oh, that's really good. That's really good. Well, at the end of the day, though, well, DSC, like at the end of the day, like it's a really good technology, like Puppet or Ansible. One of the guys there, Jordan, he actually works for Red Hat on the Ansible team, so he's really, really in depth with Ansible. So it's actually really good because you can kind of see all the different like how people use configuration to do like different ways of doing configuration through Puppet or through Ansible or through DSC. I have to admit though, yeah, it's a very interesting area and something that I always am a massive fan of. But anyway, I digress. I don't know why I just said that. That's really terrible.
You've digressed a lot.
I've digressed.
In essentially every stream, we've digressed.
We've digressed. Back to PS 101.
If you're lucky.
Exactly. All right, so I kind of wanted to have a bit of a chat to you about, you wanted to ask me some questions about that logic error that I
Yeah, so if you go to the...
I'm going to follow you.
Follow me, okay. Where we've created, well, I finally got VS Code with the Live Share extension working on my Surface. It was one of those fantastic fixes where software patch did it. Which I'm only going to say typical too. But yeah, if we come down to... where is it? Here, so you've put in the to-do here with the issue with the possibility of the code executing twice.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, mate. Thanks for letting me know.
And yeah, I just wanted to know exactly what it was you were referring to there, because when I looked through it, I saw SQL params only executed once, as did SQL error params, which is a bit further down the page.
Yeah, so it will only execute once. You're entirely correct. That will only execute once. But you've got to start thinking about, the way that I kind of, you've got to kind of like start thinking outside the box. So yes, this code will run according to that instruction set, but now I want you to kind of start thinking about, all right, what happens if this function gets called more than once? So let's say, for example, that guy is a really impatient systems administrator, and basically he goes, I want to execute that, for whatever reason, he's able to hit that URL multiple times with that same I'm talking about the wrong one. My bad. So, no, this is basically this is the service side. So we're thinking. Remember how we're thinking? This is our C# service.
Yep.
That's talking to our REST API endpoint. So this REST API endpoint, it serves up those. I'm going to make sure I'm getting out of the way so you guys can see this. It's serving up that content. So it's basically saying, hey, what do you have for me? That's basically what it's doing. Now, if we're thinking from a C# perspective, let's say, for example, the way we're going to kind of logically step out that process. Okay, so the C# service is going to go, number one, what do you have to me? So this is where this code will get executed. So it's going to say, okay, here's your jobs. Now let's say it hands in a list of 5 jobs. Within that 5 jobs, some systems administrator has put a start.sleep in there seconds 5 minutes. Okay, so that will basically halt up the execution of that piece of code for 5 minutes. All right. So what's going to happen is this is what I mean is the thing. Remember, this is running asynchronously. So the C# service will run it. It will run all these asynchronously. And then basically, once they all come back, then it'll post back. Actually, no, sorry. It'll run them all asynchronously. When they come back, it will then post the results back. So it's basically not dependent. There's no, what's the word? There's no, restrictions in terms of, what's the word? I'm trying to think. easiest way to describe this. There's no C# will not. It's not sequential, so it's not gonna go. It's basically just gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna run those jobs, and then it'll continue sitting there humming along, and then it'll continue to poll, and then when a new job comes in, it'll fire it off again. So basically, what you're doing is basically from that perspective, you have these asynchronous jobs sitting up here that are running, and it's going and saying what jobs you have, and it's doing that. Let's say every 5 minutes, it's hitting this REST service.
Yeah.
But let's say you have a job that's come down that's going to take longer than 5 minutes. What do you think is going to happen?
It's going to call the job again.
It's going to call the job again, and it's going to execute it again. That's what I'm talking about here. So you're actually trying to cater for those kinds of situations. And so the way you would do that is you would update. So once you've received the job, you would actually acknowledge it. And so you would basically put in from an Azure automation perspective, I think the statuses are you've got queued, in progress. I think there's obviously error, completed with error. I can't remember now. I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically, you need to be able to acknowledge that job. If you don't acknowledge the job, then you're assuming that the job's been completed and that basically anything is downloaded as new. So what we need to do here is that there would actually need to be some sort of write back acknowledgement, which can be that can be done on the next function, because at the end of the day, though, it's just sending data back.
Yeah.
So you know how this is the get. So this is the basically saying, hey, do you have any jobs for me? The next one is saying, hey,
I want that job.
Oh no, sorry, it's saying, hey, I've done this job, here's the output. But that function can be also used to basically say, here's a status update on this job, here's a status update on this job. So you can actually use it to acknowledge the job without having to, so you're not having to worry about that. So I wanted you to have a bit of a think about that, because that's something that, from a logic perspective, everything works perfectly. But then you're going to have that one time when you're going to have a long-running job, you're going to have something like that basically the PowerShell will, continue to run in the background, and then from that, you're going to have this job running over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. If you think about it, if the job runs for 10 minutes and it's querying,
every 5, you get another 2 executions.
Exactly, and that's obviously going to slowly consume your computer. So it's basically a logical error. You describe event queues and event-driven architecture. Yes, sorry, Glenn. I'm trying to keep it as really, circuit breakers. Circuit breakers, exactly right. So you basically are trying to ensure that within those situations you're not causing any sort of logical bar or logical loops, or in essence circuit breakers.
Okay.
I think in this instance, that's basically what I was talking about there. So I kind of want you to have a think about this, because we can update this parameter, we can update this query here, so that we don't actually have to. Sorry, not that one.
No, that's the average. That one.
Actually, I've already done it. So I've sent statuses.
I think you're saying to select the grid and the input by XML from the ones that
this needs to change. Yeah, so we
need to add a 4th status, essentially, the queued.
I would say queued, yeah. Would you say queued?
Well, I mean, if that's what Azure uses, you may as well use the same sort of language throughout.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I would probably just use queued. So in that instance, we can change that to queued. It means we're going to have to update a whole bunch of other code.
Yeah, but then in that case, we can just go through essentially and rename everything that we've called in progress so far to queued, unless required otherwise.
That's pretty much it, yeah. So in terms of, so realistically, we just need to update to be queued. I like that. That just kind of jumped.
Yeah, no, it's because you're still following me.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go and let's rewrite an Azure. Let's rewrite a function. This may not be applicable, but it's not exactly 101. HTTP call, a put or a post. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but just one of the things that I'm kind of like for this project is I'm kind of trying to keep it as simple as possible. So at the end of the day, though, I'm kind of like, I don't particularly want to overcomplicate. I won't say overcomplicate, but complicate something and then basically lose Christian in the progress. So in the process, so I'm kind of trying to like keep it as simple. Yeah, that's exactly right. Just posting. It's just basically literally this is all it gets in post. So there's not really any puts or patches or anything like that. So I do want to kind of go that way. Like, don't get me wrong, like if I'm going to refactor this whole thing, I'm going to rewrite it properly. But I'm kind of thinking that, yeah, you're right. Like there would need to be, for this instance, we're just trying to keep it as simple as possible.
And we'd have to rewrite the whole thing with security in mind.
Well, that's exactly right. I'll rewrite it and just basically start encapsulating JSON Web Tokens. Yeah. All right. So, next thing. So basically, we're going to actually talk about. I'm going to follow me now.
Okay.
We're actually going to build a function. Unfollow participant. Security is such a pain in that.
There is a little pin up the top right-hand corner. The little white pin. That's how you follow.
Ah, okay. I didn't even know that. Look at that. That's really cool. All right. So we're going to go down to. Where have I put it? Yeah, security is such a pain in the ass. Yeah, though I have to admit, JSON Web Tokens. Well, hey Jordan, how you going? Jordan meet Glenn. Glenn meet Jordan. Jordan works for Red Hat. Glenn works for Puppet. Fight. What we're going to do here is I'm literally going to try and find my code that we're going to rewrite. So, no, we're all friends in this. Yeah. We're all writing the same. Like at the end of the day, though, it's all the same. Like, you know, some people are going to either like, you know, Linux, some people are going to like Windows, you know, it's like, it is what it is. Like, it's kind of funny though, because like, it's kind of like for example, the iPhone, alright? So, everyone loves the iPhone or they like Android. I had a Windows phone, I like Windows phone.
I don't like iPhone, but that's just personal preference.
But it really comes down to personal preference. You can't say to a person that you shouldn't like an iPhone if they actually find that's the device that they use easiest. So
yeah, like I mean, from a usability perspective, I think that the iPhone for your normal end user is easier because there's less settings you have to muck around with. I suppose it is more user friendly, but for someone like myself, where I actually like to have that directory available and go looking for things, then an Android for me was the answer.
And we're off topic again, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Sorry, alright, we're going to try and get back on topic. Okay, I'm just literally trying to find my code because this is what happens when you...
Let me loose.
Yeah, I'm like, I should have just pinned it. What we're going to do... I think it's in there. It could be. Test object property. Okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to try and find this one. So this one, no. So this one. It's probably this. Oh, hang on, it's receive or it's request. Or it's none of them because... G'day, Anthony.
Yeah, not too late.
Okay, it's this one. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this code. We're going to fix it up. So, I was actually thinking about rewriting this today, but I don't actually have, didn't have Puppeteer so I'm just going to do this. So, alright, so this is kind of just going to take you through the basics of why we have functions, things like that. We'll then go through what the intention of this does, and we'll build it up from there. So functions are basically pieces of code that allows you to reuse pieces of code within PowerShell. So think of it from a perspective, if you have to write the same piece of code, 5 times, there's no point. One, it introduces, additional errors into your code, waste time, adds complexity where it doesn't need to be any. Functions are really useful for obviously simplifying your code. It's also excellent for testing as well. So everything from a testing perspective should be really in functions. So if you think about, there's many flavors of functions. You have your basic functions, advanced, normal functions, and advanced functions. I'm only going to cover certain things on that because basically we're going to be here all day yammer on about functions. So basic functions are literally are just basically blocks of code that you execute. They don't really have any sort of they're reusable, but they don't have any sort of features like the PowerShell features and things like that. Normal functions have things like your parameter blocks and things like that, where you can basically pass parameters or items into those. Then you can have, script validation, things like that, parameter validation on your specific function to be able to get it to do specific things. Advanced functions is basically where you take your normal functions and you're basically, in essence, turning it into more of a commandlet as per se. So what you're doing is you're having the ability to accept pipeline inputs. It can do things like you're actually using verbose verbose debug error warning streams. So you're actually using all the features of PowerShell within your function. You'd be using the begin, process, and end blocks. That basically corresponds with pipeline input. And what that basically does is the begin, process, and end blocks. I'm not going to really explain it to you because it's just going to go straight out of your head. What it really does is it just allows PowerShell to actually use the pipeline when you pipe something in, for example, a collection or something like that. The begin, process, and end blocks will actually articulate how that execution will take place. So for example, the begin block will only execute once, the process block will execute for how many items within the list, and then basically the end block will execute once. So usually from a commandlet perspective, if I can go dig up a begin, process, and end block example, I'm just going to quickly just jump on the internet because I don't actually have anything lying around on my machine here. Unless I have to jump on my computer, my VM. Jordan, just FYI, you're the guy that put me on DuckDuckGo. Back on topic.
Well, we're going to have to start adding off-topic, on-topic parts.
Yes. So the beginning block provides one-time process blocks, record by record processing, and the end block is one time. So the best example is you've got a begin block, processing block, so it's processing for each item, and then the end block. That's really useful for using things like it has a lot more flexibility. One of the things I also forgot to mention within the advanced functions within thing is the confirm parameter and what if. If you are writing commandlets, if you basically are writing a commandlet, and I'm talking a commandlet for a module, it really needs to be able to support what if and confirm switches. So the confirm switch basically, what that does, the confirm switch basically sets a state of the impact. So you can, so if the impact is high or something like that, and you can actually flag specific pieces of code when the impact is high, PowerShell will automatically prompt you and ask you, are you sure? So those when you're doing like, remove item or something like that, and it's asking you, are you sure? That's that confirm impact. That's actually articulating how the, it's basically defining this is something that could break things. We need confirmation. Then you have the what if parameter. So my favorite parameter in any commandlet is what if. If it's not there, you can set the impact and confirm that whether confirm is actually used. Exactly right. The what if parameter is my favorite parameter because basically the what if does exactly what it should do. So when you're wanting to do a test run or trial or anything like that, the what if parameter is really used. Basically, it's the same concept. You define a specific piece of block that basically you say it's performing this function, and then within that block, if the what if parameter has been specified, you don't need to articulate. You don't need to say whether it's specified or not. You don't need to check. You just set it. It will then basically execute if it's not set, or it won't execute and actually display a warning saying blah. Best way I can show that to you is, let's just do this. I'm not going to delete anything on my drive because, we'll just go make it free. Temp to So we're just going to remove item.
Shouldn't it be D10?
Oh. You can see how it says there you got performing what if perform the operation of remove directory on target intent2. That hasn't removed it. It's only stipulated that it's done. So it's really good for actually testing pieces of code that basically when you want to test a piece of code before you want to run it. And it's really good in production sense. So for example, one of the things I do, I've actually got a bit of a process I follow when it comes to Active Directory, because Active Directory is such a high impact, high risk, high impact. So first thing I'll do is and this is just for me, it really depends on the person, but for me, the first thing I'll do is I'll basically enumerate all the affected users that I'm going to be working with and explore them to client XML. So if I'm working with attributes with an Active Directory that I'm going to be changing, at least I first have a backup.
Yeah.
The second thing I'm going to do is use the what if. So basically that'll test my script logic, articulate, make sure everything, there's no issues there. So if I need to, for example, let's say I'm updating the position title on a, so for example, the manager, setting the manager on an Active Directory attribute. Exactly right. Backups. If I'm setting a manager attribute on an Active Directory object, I'm going to use the what if before I'm going to do anything else. So I can get's completely fine. We're not worrying about gets. I'm worrying about sets, removes, and then those kinds of things. So that's really that's the reason why what if is really important. So in this instance, this is a general function. It doesn't really support, it doesn't have all those extra items within it. And this is really when it comes down to, is it applicable? You you have to work out whether it's applicable or not. There's no point adding, for example, a what if to a test object property, because basically it's a Boolean value. It's either true or false. You're actually testing something. But there is where you're actually doing something, where it's an impact or it's an actual change. Well, then that's where you would actually have something like that. So hopefully you actually test what if on your own command. Let's make sure that yes, 100%. That's very true. That's one of the things I do. I actually wrote a module, and it caught me a few times. Interestingly enough, Glenn, you might be able to provide some content on this. What if behaves very funny inside a C# class, inside of PowerShell methods. So if you have a method and you say, okay, I'm doing some bits and pieces within it, it actually, for some reason, it treats it all as a what if, and it's actually incredibly difficult to kind of deal with, especially when you don't want, I think what's happening is it's basically it's calling a function which is it's calling a function which is obviously has that parameter set, but then from that what it's doing is I'm guessing the class would inherit whatever the preference would be. So it's just really weird though, because I've never seen it inside a class. I've never seen it inside a PowerShell unless you explicitly stipulate it. But outside of it, anyway, you kind of get, it's just got really weird. Anyway, it's really weird. It's one of the weirdest things I've had. But there's another, anyway, I'm not gonna keep carrying on about it because I kind of actually want to show you some of this when we get you running some code. So, so we talked about the parameter block. I'm not going to go into much detail. Homework parameters. About PowerShell parameters. So this is really, advanced functions, advanced parameters kind of stuff kind of falls in here. So you can see your mandatory things like that. Oh, look at that! I haven't updated it. That's really cool. Everybody Twitter account, keyboard. G'day everybody! So you have basically homework. Okay? Yeah. So what we're going to do, there's one of the really cool things about the parameter blocks is they basically, Microsoft took a lot of really cool features, a lot of pains actually, I would say a lot of pains from VB scripting, and then they're kind of tracking those kinds of days. So when you like we talked about when you define a parameter, you can obviously stipulate whether it's a string. So you just define it as a string. You don't. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. So you actually had to like track the character count. You had to look at each character until you got to the end of the string, and then that was your string. And it was quite difficult. A lot of really cool things. You can do parameter validation within here, so you can actually run PowerShell to validate that the input's correct. So for example, let's say you had an input for a machine name. Let's say your target, like you're doing a remote installation of System Center Configuration Manager. I don't know. We're just hypothetically talking here, and you have, let's say, that machine. You want to basically encapsulate it in a, you want to test to make sure that machine's legit. So whether they've actually specified a proper machine. So what you could actually do there is you actually could specify, and I think it's script. I always get these wrong. What is it? I literally forget this every time. Where is it? I think I've actually got it somewhere. I might almost forgetful out here. I can't remember. This should have actually. I'm just going to quickly find it. What's the name? Play by pipeline. So you can accept by pipeline. Looking for that. Looking for what is it called? What's it called? I always forget. So it's validate. It's validate script, isn't it? So you can see how, it's validate script, but you can see how you've got all these other items there. You can do validate range. So you can actually validate the input. Like, yes, it's an integer, but let's say you're only accepting numbers between 0 and 10.
So if you get anything outside of that,
it'll actually throw an error and it'll say it's failed script validation, of parameter validation. So you got this one, for example, validate script. So you can actually chuck it in here. You can actually just go, for example, let's treat this as a remote SCCM install. So let's say object is a computer name. You could actually just do a testnet connection, and you can actually run PowerShell within it to be able to actually test whether the computer exists or not. So it's really quite handy to manage and to do your validation. And I would 100% recommend doing your validation within that than outside it. It also means you don't have to write your own validation code. Thank goodness for basic stuff. Yet help also pulls that information too. Yes, exactly right. It's something that basically it really just simplifies the process. So basically thinking about us. They're not just handing you a big whopping, a big language and saying, okay, there you go. All right.
I kind of feel like I need a large dictionary at the moment.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I'm going to explain. So we've got the parameter blocks. So the parameter blocks are obviously we've talked about, they accept input. Yep. So parameter blocks are denoted by the parameter. You can denote a parameter block realistically. You can denote a parameter block by the old traditional open. That's completely fine. Mm-hmm. If you want a little bit more customization, you can specify whether it's mandatory, its position in the and where in the position in the function. So that will be the first item, second item, so on and so forth. So what you can do there is, for example, if you get a test object property, I could break a lot of rules, and I could actually say, object, and then I could say property. And I don't even need to specify the parameters because I know that that's hard-coded to 0 and that's hard-coded to 1. I wouldn't do that. Usually I'm kind of just super verbose and I'll generally lay things out quite nicely, but it allows for those kinds of things, and it just obviously simplifies it. You can do things like parameter sets as well. So if we quickly have a look at invoke SQL query, basically there's different requirements that can potentially happen. That you want to exclude specific parameters from the user because basically those parameters don't apply.
Yeah.
So in this instance, I have multiple parameter sets. Actually don't even have a default parameter set, big no-no for me. But basically I have multiple parameter sets set up, and basically within this parameter set, they PowerShell's smart enough to realize that's a parameter set, that's a parameter set. So when I'm, for example, putting command text, server name, server port, instance name, database name, and then I put in integrated security, it'll exclude, credential. If I put in integrated security, it'll exclude credential.
Okay.
So it just allows you to define different criteria and that could potentially play up into your commandlet. So you're not having to give a user everything, you only need to give them what they need to have. It also makes it a lot more easy to use. That's why we use that. So in this instance, we've got a really simple one. We've got two properties. Also, we've got two parameters. We've got an object parameter and a property parameter. So what we're going to need to do is we're actually going to rewrite this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to start driving. So there's a couple of things I want you to note. You can see at the top there, I'm allowing null.
Yep.
And that's really, like, by default, it won't allow null. You have to explicitly allow null. The reason why this is really good is because allowing null for this specific object, or for this specific requirement, all I'm doing is I'm testing, does that property in that object exist? But what we can do is we can, if the object doesn't exist, so let's say the object is completely, it's null, there's no properties, there's nothing in it. By us accepting null, that's fine, it's completely fine. We can test whether it does, if it's null, then we can return false, but it just means that we don't produce a terminating error on that specific item. We actually want it to come in and return a Boolean value, whether it's true or false. So,
okay.
Yeah. So in this instance, what we're going to do, we're going to kind of work out this logic. So we've kind of got the core piece of code here. Just going to kind of grab this. And we're going to fix, actually, you know what, we're not even going to rewrite this, we're just going to keep it as it is. And you're just going to update this. So you can see here, what we're doing here, actually I really should update that on the right click. I'm having a massive
Naturally?
Yeah, H-A-T.
Naturally.
That's the word.
You've said real twice.
Did I? So what that basically means is that it will be true from the get-go. And then any sort of miss property that is being defined, then will return false. So basically we're assuming that it's true, and then we're gonna, if there's anything missing, it will then return false. So it's some might naturally evaluate to be true or false. In this instance, this one's going to naturally evaluate to be true. So the way that it's easier to do it this way, and the reason why is because I'm just going to talk you through the logic. Yep. I want you to think about what would happen if you flipped it. So if you had it false, what it meant would be that is basically you'd be testing on you'd have to flip it to be true. Like there's a lot more it's actually a lot more pain.
Yeah, you wouldn't be testing to see if things did exist. You'd be testing to see if things didn't.
Exactly. It's easy to test whether it doesn't exist, to test whether it is, and then just being able to manage that kind of that test, because it's not really a test, but be able to manage that is a lot less work. And so it's better to be able, in this instance, to evaluate it to be true, and then if there's any issues, break it. So the biggest problem we have is that basically we have dictionary objects coming into PowerShell. So what we're going to do here is we're going to fix this piece of code. So I'm thinking we're going to convert this to a PS object. Right now, this is incredibly inefficient. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the existing object and I'm converting it to be a PS object by converting it to JSON and back.
Yep.
That's a problem because if we're actually testing with, if we're testing an Azure function,
Azure.
if we're going with, if then you actually look at the type basically, like, I'm writing this now to be completely agnostic of any type. So there's no, it doesn't have to be this type, it doesn't have to be this type. It just figures it out. So what we're going to do is we know that basically functions and dictionary objects pretty much have, functions. Dictionary objects and hash tables have the same key value items. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of mess around a bit. So I'm going to go to my so the hash dictionary and object. I'm using object generically because it doesn't have to be a PS object. Our end goal will be a PS object, but it doesn't have to be a PS object.
Okay.
So what we're going to need to do here is we're basically going to, I want you to kind of just have a bit of a think about how you're going to, what do you think, like, how would you test to, I wouldn't say test, but what steps would you do to basically make that convert to a PS object? If you like, so like think about like how do we create an object? So we're going to dynamically be building out an object. So I kind of want you to think about. I'll get you started. So the first thing we need to do is obviously build an object. We're going to need to create an object.
Yep. Which is just done by denoting it with the $sign and then.
Oh, you can drive.
Would help if I tap. Like that.
Okay, so dollar. So that's your variable, but you actually haven't created a new object. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly. Which one's faster, PS object or PS custom object? I remember hearing this before, and I can't remember which one's faster. Which one's newer? That's actually probably a better question. I was thinking about writing this in this custom class, but I thought it doesn't matter in your case. Okay. Okay. We're just going to do a PS object.
I feel like I'm missing something.
I've never done this before. I'm actually intrigued. Works. Perfect. Bear with me for a second. Property. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to create a new object.
Yep.
So what's the next thing we're going to do?
We need to, well, from the look of it, in the steps, so creating a hash table.
So what we need to do is we need to look at, so I'm just going to create a hash table. So remember, we're converting a hash table to a PS object. Now, so hash table dictionary to a PS object. So
yep.
I'm just going to go. That was weird. I think that's just your key. So if we go hash table, we can see. Now, the difference is between an object and a hash table is what?
That you got keys and values, whereas the object will only hold properties.
Perfect. Property methods. So that's your key there, because we know that there's keys, we know there's values. So this is where we start writing some interesting code. So I'm kind of humming and hawing. We need to dynamically build properties based on whether it's a key value or whether it's an object type. So what do you think we should do in terms of how do you think we should test for that?
So can you rephrase that?
Okay, so we've got a hash table, we've got a PS object. So it's either going to be a key value, hash table. It's either going to be a hash table dictionary or it's going to be an object. So hash table dictionary is going to have the key values, and the object is going to have object properties. So how do you reckon we're going to be able to test between the two and dynamically generate it? And we can't test type because
can you pass it as the other type?
I tried that. No.
Okay.
Like what? Okay, this is just to give you a bit of a thought, and you guys can jump in as well. Like it's always good to have other logic kind of thrown out there. My idea is, well, this is the thing. So with Azure Functions, I actually wish I can't run it now because I've got to reinstall Visual Studio and I've got to reinstall the SDKs and everything because my disk filled up. Within the actual request body of an Azure function here, and where is it? In here, if you're testing, I'm literally trying to find it now. So if you're testing, for example, it'll have a like a property, an object within it called query, and then a property. Sorry, it'll have a dictionary item called query, and then basically properties within that. The dictionary item is very lengthy. The type is literally like, it's not like, your traditional. Glenn says it's normal. I've never seen this before. So, but your traditional type name is usually, system.collections.hashtable. That's what I've traditionally done. I've basically tested on the type name. So I've just gone, something is blah. But this is basically your full assembly. Yeah, it's the full name assembly. So, it's actually something that, rather than like, as a workaround, just converting to and from JSON is easy to is a little simpler. But I'm thinking like from a long-term perspective, like, and obviously moving, this piece of code into other projects, I'm actually wanting to write something a little bit more fully featured. So what I'm thinking is basically looking at, since it's a dictionary object, it's going to contain the same elements, the same key value properties within it. I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to test on that, but I don't know. Now I'm literally sitting on the fence because it's driving me nuts, because like I convert to and from JSON's working, like that's fantastic, but no, it's a full assembly. I'm talking system.generic dictionary to system object, then actual assembly information after it. So yeah, I sat around messing with it on Friday night, thinking, culture. So that should be fine as long as you don't test the actual string. Am I testing the actual string? No, I'm not. I'm only testing the items. Well, we can do that. I'll have to test it later though. We'll have to test it. All right, let's do that. We're going to fix it. So if you're testing types, use the type as a type object, and then it should do the assembly name in itself. So using the type as a type object. So you mean using the is? kind of just do a bit of chat now. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'll show you what I did previously. Actually, yes, not yeah. So this is what I did previously. This is what I did. So I did exactly that. So basically, I validated the object type by doing object is that or that. So, but that wasn't plain ball. So, if we're going down that path, I might as well just update that then. Well, that, I think I'm going to need to create that type to test it. So, either way, Christian's still going to write a function today because that's really important. So, what I might do is I'm going to update that to test for that type explicitly, and I think I'm just going to explicitly test for it. But anyway, you're going to still write a function. So
yeah,
because that's what we were supposed to do, and then I kind of got a bit sidetracked. And yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to write a function. To be honest, extract the test to a function and solve it later. Yeah. I kind of wanted to do it now because it was just kind of a bit of a tutorial for Christian to kind of learn how to write a function, but yeah, I'm just going to put that on the to-do. I think that might have been a little bit too much for you, to be honest.
Don't expect too much from me, Glenn. I don't even know if I'd be capable of such a thing.
Yeah, but you are going to write a function though. That's going to happen. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a new file, not a folder. We're going to create a file. So there you go. And what we need, I need. I was actually thinking about this the other day. What did I need? There was something I needed. Give me 2 secs. Christian. I just need to quickly read some code. Yes. That's what we're going to do. I've been procrastinating this for so long, but we're going to do it.
Because it's easy, or because it's difficult?
Oh, it's just I just don't have, like, some of us don't have time. It's just I can't be bothered writing it because it's like writing boilerplate code. I'm just like, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it because, like, it's just really good. So we're going to write stop function. So this will actually, what we're going to do is I want you to write a function. You can get started now. So the goal for this function, I'm also going to write some tests for this too. To be honest, the test. This is actually something interesting, Glenn. How would you... Oh, no, it's on .NET Core. Never mind. Don't worry about me. So I'm just going to write some just quick thoughts for my tests. Should just be... Ooh. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. It will probably have a null. Anyway, either way. I'm going to need, I think, okay, so basically this function we're going to call stop function. So basically this is going to be used by all our scripts. I've also got another one for you too, but you can do that for homework.
It would help if I had it on the right side.
No, I'm going to add those. Those are a little bit too complicated. Don't worry about regions. We're going to just get stuck right into it. You can actually, you can keep going on. So this is realistically, it's just going to be a null output. There's no real output in terms of it. We're basically terminating the script. We're doing cleanup. So what we're going to do. I'm going to add a I'm going to add it off camera, but we're going to just treat it like it's there. I'm going to add another function called update trace log, and we're going to actually do some logging. But this function will basically, in essence, stop the script.
Yep.
It's pretty straightforward. It's nice and simple. It doesn't require a lot of input. It doesn't require advanced parameter input. It just basically all it needs is actually it will require specific types of input. So we actually do have that going for us. So so basically the script's going to stop. The script is this is actually this is terminating. This is a terminating error. So realistically, the script could technically end with a throw. Personally, I don't think it's good. I don't think that would be a best practice for an Azure function to end on a throw. I think it'd probably be better to end it gracefully and then kind of deal with it like you deal with it and then, yeah. G'day, Delio.
How's it going?
So I'm thinking what we can do here is we're basically just terminating the script. So we need to HTTP response context. And we're going to basically do this. So we're going to use push output binding. And basically, I'm going to write some parameters. So I want you to write some parameters. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to accept some inputs. So the first input we're going to need to accept is the response body. Sorry guys, if you can hear a baby screaming, that's my bub next door. When she screams, she's super overexcited. So sorry about that, but yeah, don't worry, she's gonna get tickled later. It's gonna be worth it.
Okay, back to this.
Yeah, so basically we're gonna have our parameters defined. I'm old. She screams because PS is awesome. I actually was thinking of getting a little onesie for my little baby that says PowerShell is the best. And then yeah, I don't know, like I don't think it's I really want to do it and then I can take it out and then people will be like, well. Anyway, so parameters, push output binding. Okay, so I kind of want you to talk me through what's going on here. I'm going to leave like this little bit of template code. I want you to write the parameters. I want you to kind of start driving.
Okay. I'm probably going to need a lot of guidance.
That's fine.
So any input from the audience would also help.
So the first thing, remember how we were talking about your parameters. We're talking about what's the that just kind of what input are you requiring for this specific function to work? Okay, so in this instance, basically we have I'm not gonna I want you to kind of think about. So I've put that last line there, which is push output binding, and then response value blah.
Okay, so
why do that? What are you doing now? I'm just gonna do a quick bit of research on this. Sorry, try not to make you nervous.
It's not so much a question of whether I can or not. It's a question of how long it will take.
You'll get there, mate. You'll get there. I should know.
Of course it's that.
Holy crap! She's really loud.
I suppose the question here is, are the parameters mandatory?
Well, yeah, these will be mandatory. You can just make them mandatory. Don't be afraid to jump into the other.
Well, that's what I've been doing, just so I can
you jump around.
go and check over it, make sure I'm not,
I don't expect you to memorize the syntax immediately. Like, I don't even like.
Do you want it implicit or explicit?
Oh, it's going to have to be implicit. We got to write this properly, or Glenn's going to Jordan would slap me silly if he saw my Python. So this, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want you to allow nulls.
That's why
like
I
that.
commented it out.
Yeah, you
because I wasn't sure.
don't need that. You don't need that. I kind of want you to I kind of just want you to write what you think the inputs should be. So this is the response we're sending. So we're sending push output binding name response value.
Okay.
What are you doing now? I'm kind of like gonna just see. Oh, okay. Man, she is overly excited now. What silly auto mod? Glenn, you're the only one who's like dropping F-bombs every 2 seconds, mate. Dropping. Oh man, I feel like you can imagine like if auto mod was like HR, like I think everyone would be fired immediately. Like I know I would be fired at work. Like you just yeah. Anyway, so I was kind of researching. I have I typed the word dirt with a AY at the end. All right, give me 2 secs. There's actually, is there a get help for push that? I don't think there is. What's going on? I'm just kind of having a look at push that behind because trust the Aussies to find space swear filters. Yes. All right. Okay. What do we have here? So I kind of like you've basically. Okay.
I know. I'm just at the moment. I'm duplicating what I see on the other one, but because I'm not too sure what.
No worries, Jordan. See you, mate. Take care, dude. Thanks for dropping in, mate. So what? Okay. So I'm going to give you the scenario. Where basically any sort of terminating error. So if we go back into our functions.
So it'll be the.
So if we're like, for example, in here, we're writing a terminating error and we're returning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but before we're going to return, we're just going to write stop scripts. Okay. So we're basically writing this response back. But instead of writing that back, we're going to call stop function. So what do you reckon we're going to do there to kind of, like, how do you think we're going to bring that code into a function?
Well,
guys, help him out. Like at the end of the day, I don't particularly want to spoon feeding, but I kind of want him to.
Yeah.
I kind of want him to get a bit of input from other people as well. Like if I'm not explaining something right and you think you might be able to do a bit better, Chuck's inputting, because at the end of the day, though, you know, people like just relate to different languages in different kind of different ways of doing it. Config T. All right, so I want you to kind of think about stop functions. So if you basically you wanting to, that is going to be the line you're calling, and all that extra piece of code back here will basically is in essence is being moved in.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. While you're doing that, I'm trying to quickly just say get Ada Bob and see if she can calm down.
Oh, don't be like that, Glenn. I'll just put random comments in. How much I love PowerShell. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but would you just put the under the stop function there? Would you put the object in object, and then under your second parameter, when you're looking for the property, you'd go for the error message.
Alright, I'm back. He's gone, write all the codes. Everyone's like, do this. I'm like, oh my god, this is impressive. Alright, keep going.
I was just asking if you would, under your stop function, you put there's a variable there of object, and then under your parameter you would specify the property of error message. I'm not too sure. I've got no idea.
Okay, you're pretty much 90% there, mate. So what kind of things do you want the stop function to do? Well, realistically, all it needs to do is push an output binding. It'll add some logging and things like that to clean it up, make it a little bit nicer, but basically all it's really doing is it's stopping the Azure function. So in this instance, we've got a HTTP response. We're going to send an output binding. So I'm going to simplify it for you. So this is a terminating function. It's something that basically okay, push a message. That's exactly right. So you need the name of the function to stop that.
Oh.
No, so this is not actually, this is a function that terminates it doesn't terminate an Azure function, it terminates itself. So it's basically like a cleanup piece of code. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're calling for the function inside of the code.
Correct. Push output binding. Push output binding is a command used for Azure Functions. So it basically sends a HTTP response back to the caller. So in this instance, what basically, it's an Azure Function thing. So what we can do here, first thing is HTTP status code. So this is terminating. We can make an error. I think it's error. Give me 2 secs. I need to check the object types. No! I don't know if using works inside of just a standard console, but I'm giving it a go because why not? Just want to see what types are here. Oh, that's right. It doesn't do this. It's responding to a stop function in case I'm actually stopping the function. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Sorry. Ah, sweet. Just FYI, I never knew that actually worked, so that kind of blew me away. You can actually specify an object type, and then basically pipe it to get function, also to get member, and that works, which is really cool. Anyway, so what we're looking for is a property. Just a side note, I had a bad packer Zapper.
Okay, cheers, Anthony.
That's really random.
Yeah, no, he's a Zappo supplier at TAFE.
The Zappo, like this.
Yeah, he's a Zappo dealer. Bribing all the teachers.
Bad pack of Zappos for the teachers, mate. Alright, so I'm looking for an error. Oh my gosh, she's out of control. What is it? I can see this. I don't even see okay. Oh no, sorry, it's bad request. Is bad request there?
No.
No, it's not. Okay. So that doesn't work properly. Give me 2 secs. Oh, there it is there.
Is that because you've used it before?
Oh no, it's because I actually loaded it now. Give me 2 secs. I actually want to have a look at this in Google. Oh, sorry, I noticed again. It's getting awfully dark. Give me 2 secs, guys. I want to drop the exposure.
You want me to turn on the light?
No, because it's a really terrible light.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just learnt that now. I hang my head in shame. Exposure. It's like getting methods on the top. Yeah, I'll do that. I might just block it one more. Oh yeah, good news, Glenn. Issue was CPU. Yeah, confirmed today. Anyway, so yeah, bad. So we can just basically bad test. Yeah, yeah. So what do you think the input's going to be? So we're basically saying it's a type string.
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to put there? So I kind of want you to have a think about this. So you've got, that's the body that we're sending back.
Yeah.
There's a problem receiving blah. Okay. Build's going forward there. Yeah, I've got to rebuild it this weekend. I did get, it's going from purple to
white.
From purple to white, so I've got some white fittings for it. So I've got to now clean out all the purple, which is actually easier said than done. Yeah. So that's basically, we're returning a hash table. The body is
yeah.
So what I'm intending here, this is just to make it a little easier, is we can go error equals something. So that should be able to provide you your
in that case, the parameter block would hold that string.
Well, yeah, exactly. The error string. That's what I'm kind of trying to push at.
Yeah.
One of the things that we can do, and this is something that again it comes down to how you build your thing. Another really good thing to do, and this is something from a logging perspective, would be to actually capture the error as well and log it. So, what you're going to do, this is a parameter. This is, you can call this anything you want. What do you think that should be called?
Response body.error message. It's the one you've used in the other.
Yeah. What
scripts.
else? Would you call it like? I would call it like just error message.
Okay. So that would be like that.
Yep. That's perfect. Okay. I'm going to add one more, and I want you to have a think about this. I'm going to add it. This is optional, so I'm going to get rid of the mandatory.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not. You're going to make it optional.
So I'm going to get rid of the mandatory.
Yes, you got to get rid of the mandatory.
Like that. Okay, so you want me to figure out what belongs to that?
What type is it? To give you a bit of a hand, because this is something that I do religiously on try catches. There's a guy who wrote get error, Chris Mill. He wrote a get error function which basically accepts the error type, and it captures stack trace, all that information, and writes it out in a nice log file. We're going to do the same here because this is something that needs to be logged.
Yeah.
So this is the process I'm going to do, and you're going to type it out. The best way to find out what type you're going to be using, so for example, if it's an error type, the fastest way to find it is just go to error, and then you're going to do a get member. All right. Then you're going to update that type name with the type name in the parameter block. What do you think you're going to need to update?
Update the... So run your stat and bunny again.
Okay, So you got your type name there. So this is your
Yeah,
type name.
the system management automation error record.
Where's that going?
In the param block,
Yep.
the whole thing, or just the error record.
Tool call. You guys can help him out.
What would industry best practice be?
It's not an industry best practice. It's basically what's going to work and what's not.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Yeah. Don't worry about me. Yep, I just wanted to check, make sure I wasn't making a mistake. So what do you think that's going to be? I'm going to give you a bit of a hint. There's nothing wrong there's nothing wrong typing out the full. Perfect. So can you?
I tabbed it and that's what came up.
Oh, look at that. It's already there. So can you explain to me what's going on here? And actually, there's something wrong with this at the moment. Something's not right.
Because it's not showing up as a. It should show up in the orange, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Should.
No, that indicates that.
I'm like trying to work out why as well. Like all colons. 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 Ah!
Oh, so you've seen it?
I think. No. There's a. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's it type. Position 1. I actually think this is just an issue. Let's not do this because I honestly think. Okay, let me just try something. That's weird. I think Visual
Hang on,
Studios.
let me just try this.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Oh, hang on. What was it called? Oh no, Stack Trace. Is Stack Trace a pretty? I think it is. Oh, it is. That's why.
So it's not a.
I think
it's not a variable. It's
a special one. I think it is. I'm just literally going to fire up the ISE because I'm just having a look inside here. It is. There you go. Glenn's popping his head off again. So interestingly enough, I can't use stack trace because that is a predefined variable. Didn't know that? Now I do. Really good to know. So what we can do is we're just going to call it trace message. We're just going to call it trace. Done. So basically what I'm going to do here, well, exactly right. So I'm just going to do this. Trace like we are. Anything else we should add to that? Stack trace. I'm just going to use trace. I think it's just like it's fairly.
Trace or trace log?
No. Oh, okay. About this random. Good luck. Yeah. I was actually thinking about writing it like a. What we're going to do is we're just going to leave it there. So before we do that, is there anything else we should add? Because at the end of the day, though, I kind of also want to write some tests for this. It's getting late, and I know that Christian needs to go. So, is there anything else we need to add? I'm just kind of like, this is where I'm kind of throwing it out there as well. I'm not. Random var needs to be mandatory.
It's got the tongue poking out.
Yeah, I'm like, is he being serious? No, he's not. I've just got triggered. Thanks, mate. Yes, there is something we need to update. We need to update the error message. At the same time, though, we can. So the reason why trace is not mandatory is because there's some time that basically trace actually doesn't require. We might not just we don't need to capture the output. There might be some times, for example, with in some scenarios where there is actually not an error. Like a core error, it's just specific conditions being met that we need to terminate on. So we need to terminate on. So actually, what happens if trace is null? Does it get error except null? Well, this is where that's actually a really interesting one. I don't think it will. So that's actually really important. So you could actually you've very very good spot. So we need to actually test. To be honest, I could actually, in this instance, it's better to use parameter set names. So, but we don't really need to do this if it's this complicated. So what I mean by that is, how if we go back to our SQL thing, we have these parameter set names. There would be two parameter set names for this. So what we could actually say is the first parameter set would be just the object. The second parameter set would be the object and, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. The first one would be error message. The second one would be error message and trace. We can actually specify the parameter set name in there. Should we do it? What do you think, Glenn? Adelio, should we do it? I'm like, I honestly don't think it's really worth it for this specific piece of code. Parameter sets are really not. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. I just think it's a little bit over the top. But basically, what we can do is we can test whether the trace parameter exists. All right. How do we do that?
Run the test object script.
So how are we going to test whether that exists or not? Yeah. It's a pretty random question, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't particularly really want to kind of overload Christian, but at the same time, I'm like, if this was me being super pedantic, which today, and it's kind of getting towards the end of the stream, I'm kind of like, I would do it, but, and it's more for the likes of future-proofing it, because there'd probably be additional stuff that would eventually be, yeah. Oh, okay. Still typing. Oh, sorry, mate. So we're testing whether trace exists or not. Oh man, I'm proud of you, man. I am proud of you. I'm so proud of you, man.
Well, remembering that.
Yep. You're nearly there.
Yeah, I need to add the
color braces.
That's the one.
Yep, nice.
And then that tells you what's going on.
Okay, you need to make a slight change to that condition.
Not equal.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm so proud. He's learning. We're making progress. This is like, it's something sinking in. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Because at the end of the day though, if trace doesn't exist, it's null. There's nothing there. It's null.
Yeah.
So if you're testing based on null, then you're fine. So I think, yeah, we're going to leave that
That's
there.
an interesting question there, Adelio.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, Adelio. How many Afro guys is that? I'm like, you got the chat window on your computer too now, Christian.
I do. Look at that.
Oh, look, it's even blown up. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 Afro guys. 5 Afro guys for 5 viewers. Alrighty. Anyway, I think we're going to leave it there. I think there's a really good progress. It's Bob Ross. I think we're going to leave it there for today. I think we've made good progress. Christian learned a little bit about functions. We've kind of also made a little bit more effort there. I think what I'm going to do, if you have time, is Friday nights. We're going to basically jump in there. Yeah, see you later, Glenn, mate. Friday nights, I might see if you can jump in remotely.
Yep.
And we're just going to keep, I'm just going to be writing code. And you can just kind of follow along. I think the more exposure you have, the better. Thanks, Adelio, mate. I hope that you have a good one, mate. Make sure.
Thanks for all the help and all the encouragement.
Yeah, all the encouragement. Don't stay up too late, mate. So I think, yeah, no worries, Anthony, mate. Take care. I think with regards to, if you jump in Friday night, I'm going to be writing code, testing code. At least you can kind of thing there. And I might even be able to give you a Lombard's PowerShell workshop book.
It's the first I've ever heard of it.
No. Is that PowerShell in a month of lunches? So basically, I'll be writing tests and things like that, and you can kind of follow along. And I'm going to throw you bits and pieces for you to do. And they'll be very minor bits and pieces, but basically you can kind of do go along the side with what you're doing, so we kind of at least have you can kind of get this project moving a bit forward. We're right near the end, so I'm kind of very anxious to get it finished. So
I understand.
I kind of want it out of the way, and then we can actually start on a new project. And I've got a whole bunch of different things I want to work on. So, anyway, guys, I think we're going to leave it there. If you liked it, subscribe, please. It really does mean a lot to me. I'm going for a Twitch affiliate status. Sorry about the squeaky chair. I'll get some WD-40 on that. I'm usually streaming. I'm probably going to be streaming Friday. We've got a meetup this month as well. That's happening on the 25th at 6 p.m. So that's ideally you probably should be asleep by then. I was like, you should be asleep by then. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning for you. But for all the other guys in Australia, that's going to be a meetup about plaster. Alex Laurie will be presenting that. I think I'm on for the following month, which will be an Azure Functions talk. So, anyway, if you guys are interested, definitely, if you subscribe to me, obviously I'm quite frequent with my events that I post on my Twitch or YouTube, so you guys can then basically, send you a tweet. Thanks, mate. Anyway, guys, take care, guys, and hope to see you next time. Anyway, bye for now.
Catch you later.